Muy buenos dias. So today I want to go ahead and continue on being able to talk about our classes. And you've already looked at the vocabulary over classes, and at this point you should be getting a pretty good, solid understanding of all the classes that you would have in a school day, and you're able to begin to talk about who teaches the classes. Well, now what I want to do is introduce another question where we ask, in what period do you have a certain class? But in order to kind of get into that, there's a couple vocab words that we need to learn how to say in Spanish before we can really get into the application of asking the question, in what period do you have a certain class? And so let's go ahead and look at some of that vocabulary. So the first one that I want you to be aware of is the word class period. In Spanish, it's the word hora. And hora can refer to a lot of different things in Spanish, but for our sake, when we're talking about school, hora is going to refer to what class period you have something in. Next up, we need to go over los números ordinales, which is ordinal numbers. And if you've ever thought about the numbers that you've learned in Spanish so far, you should know that you don't necessarily know how to say first, second, third, fourth, fifth if all you've already learned how to say is uno, dos, tres, cuatro. So now what we're going to do is learn how to say the ordinal numbers, which are words like first and second and third. So let's go ahead and look at those very quickly. So the word first in Spanish is primera. So la primera would be the first. Next is second, which is la segunda. Then comes third, which is la tercera. After that, we've got fourth, which is la cuarta, la cuarta. Then fifth would be la quinta, la quinta. After fifth, we've got sixth, which is la sexta, la sexta. And you may be thinking to yourself, at this point, Mr. Davis should be done with ordinal numbers because we only really have 6 classes in a day. Well, you're mistaken because there are several classes and schools in other countries where the class periods go beyond just 6 periods in a day. I know it's crazy, but it's true. So let's go ahead and go on to the next few class periods that we'll talk about. So on the next one, it's la séptima for seventh, la séptima, seventh. And then for eighth, it would be la octava, eighth. And one other that I want to be able to give you is the last. So the last period of the day would be la última. La última is last. All right, so now that you know and have become a little familiar with these particular words, let's go ahead and look at the application of being able to ask someone in what period do they have a certain class. So you'll often see a question set up like this: En qué hora, in what period, tienes? And the word tienes is really important here. It's a verb and it means do you have. So in a question, it's going to mean do you have. So en qué hora tienes, and then we want to be able to name what class we're talking about. So en qué hora tienes la clase de inglés would mean in what period do you have English class? And there's several ways that you could go about answering this, but let's go ahead and imagine for a second that we had it in the first period. So the first thing that we want to say is I have. So the way that we'd say that in Spanish is tengo. So tengo means I have. Then tengo la clase de inglés. I have English class en la primera hora, in first period. So this is the structure and how you're going to go about talking about when you have certain classes. If let's pretend that English class is really in second period, we'd have to go in and change our ordinal number, but the rest of this structure would stay the same. So let's go ahead and look at that very quickly. So if we want to say that we had the class in second period, we'd need to say, tengo la clase de inglés en la segunda hora. The same would be